Setting up your meeting for prepare. All right, we're now live on Facebook. This is Landis Wade with Charlotte Readers Podcast, and this is our Tune In Tuesdays, which is on Monday this time. And I'm happy to be here tonight with Cathy Pickens. Cathy, welcome.
Thank you.
We were, I was struggling with technology here, trying to push the right buttons. We actually had viewers about 5 minutes of good conversation here. You missed because I didn't I didn't push the right button.
We heard
Uh,
it.
we heard it, but now we're here, and I guess that's part of
Uh,
the creative life, right, Cathy? You're
it
gonna
is.
stump.
It absolutely is.
You're gonna stumble, and so before we get started with Cathy tonight, we've got a lot of good things on coming on the podcast over the next couple of weeks, and the best way to find out about that is to go to charlottereaderspodcast.com and sign up for our free newsletter, which we call Tune In Tuesdays. And it's just a biweekly newsletter. I don't have time to spam you. So don't expect spam from this email account. You'll just get something every couple of weeks. It'll have book suggestions, it'll have authors, videos, information, and, announcements like we're going to do this because we're calling this Tune In Tuesdays live. And we do it every couple of weeks. Alternating between Facebook and Instagram, and I might figure out how to push the right buttons one day. But tomorrow's episode is Charlie Lovett with his new book, and we've got several other good authors. So check all that out, and at the podcast website. But I'm really enjoying this. Other than pushing the buttons and figuring out how to make it go live, I'm really enjoying this medium because unlike the podcast, where there's some technical things and the book part and everything, this is very organic. And we're just going to have a conversation today about Cathy's new book, which is Create. It's developing your own creative process. I had the opportunity to be in a class with Cathy, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago. We did it every Monday night at Charlotte Center for Literary Arts, a fine organization here in Charlotte that y'all should check out if you haven't yet. And it was fun to sit there and dive deep. And I've read the book again and went through it again last night. And Cathy, we're going to talk about some of the concepts in this book today. But first, I'm going to ask you a question about your own path to creativity because, you like me, you got this lawyer thing in your background, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You were a lawyer. You taught in a business school, but and viewers, she is a really good writer. She's written some award-winning mysteries. She's now doing true crime books, which are fun. But this is a different project, and I know it's a passion
Mm.
project for you, Cathy. But
Yes, it
when did
is.
you realize that regular life and creativity could go hand in hand?
It took a long time. I've talked about this in the book, so I won't belabor it. But in my family, we grew up in the hill country in the southern Appalachian Mountains, and my grandparents and great grandparents and my parents, they were incredibly creative, but that's because they had to be just to survive. And so I just thought that was the way it was, that everybody could make things, build things, think of things, solve things, fix things. And I mean, my dad got us through life with, chapstick and a pocket knife. I thought that's what all men had. So that that word create sounded so important and kind of arty and high flown and something not at all like what I was used to. And it took a long time for me to realize because I knew at 11 that I wanted to be a writer, and that's thanks to Nancy Drew. But along with all this crazy creativity in my family was also this very hard won sense of you better be able to take care of yourself, because I still remember my mother looking down and telling me, well, that you would be good at that. You could do that. So, but you really need to find a way to support yourself. so, so good advice for an 11-year-old.
Isn't that a good way to kill a dream? What do you,
No,
what
no,
do you,
not at all. Not at all. I
what,
haven't missed a meal yet.
well, that's true. That's true. You can't be an artist. You have to get a real job. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And that,
Well, actually, it was to do both because I
okay.
watched everybody in my family do both. I have a sister who's a family practice physician who makes award-winning teddy bears.
Mm,
Okay, it's just you can do both, and I think that that's what we miss out on when we segregate creativity off somewhere special and don't realize that we use it as lawyers and as teachers and as moms and dads. And it's a part of who we are, and so we all deserve the opportunity to develop it and use it, and we should honor it. We should respect it in ourselves,
Yeah, I
because we all
think
do creative things.
I think you said in the book that your parents would have looked kind of askance at anybody that might have come up on the porch and said, "What are you creating there? What do you?
Yeah.
Are you
Yes,
are you
just
a this? Are you a that?
yeah, yeah, it's a
Because that
bit
was just the way they did.
yeah.
But one fun thing about this book, I don't know if they can see it here, but I'm going to hold it up.
Don't you love those?
Speech bubbles. She's got speech bubbles throughout her book, and it's almost like cartoons. You can turn the page and you get a good little speech bubble, and these thoughts percolate. Tell us about that design feature and where that came.
Oh, and I wish I could lay claim to it, but there and now I've lost her name. It's in the front of the book. I'm sorry,
Right.
I lose
Yep.
names. But
Yep.
there's a designer in town who actually crafted the way that book looks, the typeface and everything. And Paul Reale, who you know from Charlotte
Right.
Leah, did the
Yeah.
cover and a whole lot of other stuff. Brought his background to it. To me, any project is really a collaborative project. As a writer and as an introvert, I like to think I stay at home and do this on my own, but that's that's the farthest thing from the truth. Just like trying a case in court, you didn't do it on your own. There's a whole lot of other people that help in one way or another. So it doesn't just take a village to raise a child. It takes a village to really bring a creative project together. Yeah, somebody said those look like text bubbles. I didn't think about that. I was thinking about cartoon. I'm like you, I was thinking about
Yeah.
cartoons, but
Exactly.
we may be dating ourselves. I don't
Yeah,
know.
exactly, exactly. I prefer to stick to the cartoon
Guys, yeah.
thing. We got enough text bubbles out there.
Okay.
Yeah, but you did mention that in your book. I was reading last night because I got really fascinated. You being the writer, you focus on writing techniques um, and you talked about this. That phase where it takes more than just the writer to get that
Yeah.
work out in the world. And I know that from having written books myself. But you've got an editor, you've got a book designer, you've got somebody that's going to help you promote it, you've got the illustrator and the cover, and now you got speech bubbles.
Yeah,
So that,
exactly. And I never would have come up with that.
yeah.
And I love those. Thank you for pointing those out. I love those.
And as you start out, the first speech bubbles you see, well, that very first speech bubble you see in this book is, I don't have a creative bone in my body, and it's signed a salesman. And then I used to love to play the guitar, but I haven't done that in years, a banker. And then I have lots of great ideas, but I can't seem to get anything finished, a graphic designer. And then I know I'm creative, but it's not always there when I need it, a writer. And then finally, I'm getting old. How can I keep my brain alive? Everyone at a certain age. And these five speech bubbles, I think, kind of set the tone for this book. And one of the things we're going to talk about in our 30 minutes today is, who can be creative? And, this salesman says they don't have a creative bone in their body. Is that possible?
As it absolutely is not. And the four of those were from my students. This whole book, the workshops, everything else grew out of an elective I developed at the McCall School of Business at Queens here in Charlotte, where I was for 30 years. And I taught law and ethics and other sensible things. And then one day this lightning bolt struck and I said, what if? And so I put together this elective out of all this reading and research and thinking I'd done about this over the years, and students flooded in, fantastic students. And I was amazed at the ones who came to take this class. One said that it was so he wouldn't have to take my husband's finance elective, but that's another whole conversation. And that didn't think they were creative. And then the most astonishing things I would watch happen. So some of their quotes from the notebooks they kept during class, I haven't identified them, I haven't called them out, but I have used their initials, are throughout the book as they began to discover creativity in their own lives. I mean, for me, it was this cell job. Yes, you are creative. That's part of the prize pack of being born human, I say. The only question is, have you developed it? Do you play with it? Do you explore it? Do you relax and enjoy it? And do you honor what you are already doing that is, in fact, creative?
Yeah, that's great. And I learned in reading over the book again that one of your favorite movies is Wizard of Oz, and you talk about the creative process might be your Yellow Brick Road. Now, that movie and that book, there were a lot of and maybe we'll call them critics along the Yellow Brick Road path there that got in Dorothy's way as she was trying to find her way home. Is that
Flying monkeys.
exactly? So so is that part of what happens on the creative process too?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you were playing with the technology, and to me, if we're not making mistakes and things aren't working right, we just aren't trying anything new.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
what's the fun of that? And I found on the other end of the spectrum for my students who didn't know they were creative, I've also worked with loads of artists and of all kinds, writers primarily, who know they're creative, they identify themselves that way, but they get stuck or and this always surprises me and it shouldn't because it happens to me too. There's something I call the voice of doom, but we could call them the flying monkeys that live in our heads and tell us we can't do it, that we get stuck somewhere, or we want to try this project but we're not sure that it's going to work out, or we wonder what somebody's going to say, or am I wasting my time, shouldn't I be doing the laundry or something. And so there's all these reasons why we tell ourselves, there's an internal editor that tells us that even though we feel the spark, the urge to try something new and different, that we back off. And I think some of those things are planted in us quite young. In the workshop that you and I were doing a few weeks ago, somebody pointed to their art teacher in school, and God love the really good art teachers, but not all of them are very encouraging and supportive when we're just getting started, when we're just figuring out who we are. And the English teachers that said, yeah, you can string two words together with good subject verb agreements, whatever may be required. So I think there's this continuum, starting with those of us who haven't quite figured out yet that we're creative, all the way to those of us who know it, but still find these mysterious roadblocks in our way.
Yeah. And so what do you tell creative people or those who aren't sure they're creative because they're getting stuck with all these either external or internal critics? What do you tell them to help them push through those moments of despair, so to speak, or actually you call it the sloth of despond
The
at one
slow of
point in your book?
despond, yeah, yeah. To borrow from Little Pilgrim's Progress, there.
Yeah.
The To me, I'm not a licensed therapist, so I
Right.
have to be careful
Well, you
how,
you you
how
but
much I give.
you were doing therapy in our session at
I
Charlotte.
actually was. And
Everybody's like, oh, but Kathy, I can't.
I can't. Yeah, and I'm like going, oh, please don't screw up someone's life
Yeah.
with your idle tongue. But
Yeah.
the to me, for me, a lot of times I have to write it out. I believe that I only can know what I think when I see it down on paper. So I'll talk about, why are you stuck here? Maybe it's because I'm not supposed to be working on this project, but more likely it's that if it is the right time, I'm hearing something, I've let something kind of get me down, something get in the way and interrupt it. For most of the time, I can put that aside. So I try to help other people lay it on the table and look at what it is you're really afraid of. And when any workshop I've ever done where I ask people what kills creativity, I just stand back because the words just start flying. I can't write fast enough on the whiteboard to capture all of the things that kill creativity. People can name those quite easily. And
Mm,
often it's self criticism, the criticism of others, those sorts of things. Very rarely have I heard somebody say lack of resources or lack of time.
mm,
So it tends to be something that we've carried with us, and we have to examine that. And sometimes it does require some professional counseling, which again, I'm not licensed to give, but sometimes it's okay to say, so what if I mess up? What's the
yeah.
worst thing that could
What's the
happen?
worst that can happen? That's right.
You know, yeah.
So
What
this
that,
book,
repeat that. What is the worst that could happen? Here
exactly.
you were trying to go live. I mean, this could have had
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
international audience, and
Yeah.
where's the button?
And we could
Okay.
have had a nice 30-minute conversation that nobody saw, right?
exactly.
because I kept looking up, it said preparing live, and I thought, should I trust that or should I just wait till it says live for sure?
You didn't. You went
I
and
went with it
you
anyway.
went and fixed it. So yeah.
Yeah. So Kelly, this is a very comprehensive book, but it's very readable, and of course with the speech bubbles along the way, it gives you those little breaks too. And I'm wondering, what was it that because you had all this success with your own writing, and then you went from mystery to true crime, and this is it's a nonfiction project, and it's
Mhm.
one that takes, I don't know, it might take some different brain skills or some different organizational skills or something, but um, you know, like any project like this, you've got to be committed to it, and you've got to really want to complete it. That's one of the things you got to have a passion about it to get it done. What was your passion to see this project in the world with the book Create?
It was watching light bulbs come on, whether it was with students or with workshops. I mean, I had folks who came into a program that we offered who were from all over the world. They would be scientists and salespeople and finance people and all kinds of folks. I worked with CEOs, and I've worked with guys in jail, and I continue to work with the ladies out at Dove's Nest and the rehab facility here. And it's watching the light bulbs come on. um, the ladies at Dove's Nest are amazing. They're coming into rehab. They're there for 3 or 4 months, and I watch them in a 3 month cycle gain self confidence and the ability to take some risks and to realize, to look at themselves for the first time and understand what they are capable of, because they've already done it. They just haven't acknowledged it. And that's what drove this book, because I want everyone to dip into that, to see what they are capable of that they haven't given themselves credit for. So, and I
Yeah,
wanted a roadmap. I hope this book is a roadmap. Thank you for saying it's practical to follow, rather than some kind of airy fairy idea about, oh,
right.
this is what creativity is. Sit and look at your navel. No,
Exactly.
I'm
No,
not
you need
interested in that.
no. And one of the things that one of the questions that you ask in the book, and then you then answer, is, can I live a creative life? And you know, sometimes you'll hear from people, you know, I'm too old to write a book. I'm too old to learn to play the piano. I'm too old to learn to paint. I think I know the answer to this, but what are you going to tell them, Kathy?
Before, after my head explodes.
Exactly.
No, absolutely not. Those years that you have are going to go by anyway.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah. Oh, it's going to take you a year to draft a book. Okay. Well, the
Yeah.
year's going to go by anyway. Are you going to
Yeah.
have a draft of a book at the end of it or not?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know who said it, but you know, you're going to be just as old when you don't know how to play the piano as you are when you finally figure out how to play the piano, right?
Exactly, exactly. And no, it's not going to be easy. And your first efforts are going to be really bad. It's what I
Mm,
call the it's all crap stage of the creative process. We all go through it,
yeah,
and we learn things and we gain skills. But here's the secret: it's not the end product, it's enjoying the process of learning, of discovery, of stretching your brain in different ways. So, what does coloring in a coloring book or learning how to sketch have to do with living your life? You might be surprised,
true.
because those connections exist.
And one of the things we probably have some writers that are going to be listening to this, some of whom might be accomplished, and you know, you've written a bunch of books. I've written some, and even when I find when I'm working on a project, I so resonated when I was reading this chapter again last night about that phase of the writing process where everything was going well, and I thought I had a good idea, and I'm probably 50,000 words into the project, and I go, this really sucks. Or I need to back away because I think I got to work on my character a little bit more or something, you know, and you just,
Exactly.
you want to, you know, explode. And so you talk about that in the book, and I was so gratified to see that it happens to other people too.
I don't know anybody that it doesn't happen to.
Yeah.
Frankly, I don't. And that's true of visual artists and sculptors and dancers. Everybody has this.
Right.
At least we're not building a bridge and we're halfway through and
Exactly.
figured out we have to go think it out
Although,
again.
although
Yeah,
the Hawthorne Bridge over Independence, that is what happened.
exactly. We don't want that again. Okay.
No, I mean, what, 2 years into it, it's almost done, and the rails weren't
Oh,
ordered
wait. Yeah,
to
we
be
did.
wide enough to accommodate the car that's supposed to go over it that they were building in the first place for, you know. So,
Yes,
so,
sadly.
so anyway, what do you tell people when you get to that phase? Because you talked about, taking a walk or going away or putting it aside for a moment and then coming back to it.
It may be that it's a small problem that day that you can't quite figure out, and then a walk works. There's lots of evidence of that, and I love the neuroscience of creativity. I'm an avid reader of anything new that comes out, and there's constantly reinforcements of this idea that taking short breaks will help, because not because it all of a sudden comes to you, but because you've been working on it and it all of a sudden comes to you. That's the
Mm,
real aha moment. For other projects, it may be this isn't the right time. Maybe you don't have enough skills built up yet. Maybe you've been distracted by something else you need to go create instead. There's nothing wrong with stopping a project either. My family laughs that we come from a long line of quitters, but obviously not. We go on and do something, but we're also not afraid. I had somebody one time in a workshop say, "You must have been in a very forgiving family," and I hadn't thought about it, but yeah,
yeah,
it's like give yourself permission
yeah,
to work on what's working. And I'm not saying slack off or be lazy, but I'm saying pay attention to what is working for you. If you need more skills or more research or more feedback or more coffee, whatever it
mm,
is, feed that creative well, because that's important.
yeah. And one of the things you talked about a roadmap, and this book is a roadmap, and it's very early in the book on pages 6 and 7. You have this, they probably can't see it too close, but I can't even hold it up right. But it's the create process, and you take the letters of the word create, and you have CREATE, and just real quickly, we're not going to go through it, but C is for
Well, you want to
ca-
capture
capture.
your ideas. Yeah.
Yeah, and you
I,
talk about using a notebook to
I
do
love
that.
a notebook. I love a
Yeah,
notebook. Yeah.
yeah, and there's a lot of conversation about that and tips there. R is for
Ramble, which
mm,
is getting out and exploring. And those two together, capture and ramble, I consider the playground
mm,
of creativity. It's where there's no purpose. You're just exploring and
yeah,
playing.
lots of good tips about rambling too. E is for
You want to engage. Sooner or later, if you want to do a creative project, you got to begin to gather the stuff together that you've been working on and thinking about, and begin to see what's there and begin to decide what it is you want to work on. Now, if you want to do woodworking and you want to write and you want to learn how to tap dance, may have to make some choices. Okay.
okay,
Because I
right,
did. I've done
yeah,
all those things in my life and
yeah,
others. But you begin to engage with a particular project and narrow it down.
okay. Sound a little bit like a cheerleader here. A is for, and then
Act.
yeah, yeah,
Sooner or later, you got to sit your little self down in the chair and get busy.
yeah,
You
yeah.
pulled yourself together, set a date, get it done.
And if you get beyond those 50,000 words and get a first draft, then we get to T, right?
Tweak.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I always say that if American business could master what productive artists know about critique, that we would change the world.
Mm.
Because working artists of any kind learn how to both give and take feedback on their work. And it's a magnificent and marvelous process when it works well.
And finally, E is for.
You want to expand. It's not just this one project, it's not just this one book or article, it's not just this one painting. It's how the things that you learn from that expand into your personal life, into your professional life, that I find the most enriching.
Yeah, that's great. So we're talking about the book with Cathy Pickens. It's called Create Developing Your Own Creative Process. It's a very practical guide on creativity and steps that you can follow to get from your here to your there, perhaps. And
I like that.
yeah, and so what, Cathy? This has been wonderful today. Just a couple. I'm gonna have you have a parting thought in just a second, but first I want to tell our viewers just a little bit about another thing we have at Charlotte Readers Podcast that you can check out. We have had a wonderful author community. I've had just released our 150th episode recently.
It's amazing.
We've had over 150 some authors appear on the show. And those authors, many of them have been kind enough to do sessions for us on what we're calling listener supported Charlotte Readers Podcast on our Patreon channel. And we now have a library of about, I think it's close to 30 1 hour episodes. It's available to anyone who wants to access them for no more than $5 a month, $8 a month if you tip, but $5 will get you everything. And go on there and you get all that back content and you listen to it just like a podcast. You get your own private RSS feed. I wouldn't be pitching this if I didn't really believe in it, because I go back and listen to these episodes as well. In fact, I was having one of those days and I went back to listen to one on affirmations because I thought that would be a good one for me to listen to. Affirmations, you know, and that was Michelle Berger, and that was a good episode. And then Cathy, you did one for us as well. We talked about true crime and got into that genre. So if anybody's interested in that, you can just go to our website, charlotteroostpodcast.com. There's a Patreon page there. Check it out. We got all the samples of what you can see and look at. And, know that you're helping authors give voice to the written words. All right. Now that infomercial, people don't even know what infomercials are anymore, but now that thing is over with, Cathy, let's have some final thoughts here about your book, Create, and what you're hoping that people can take from this wonderful work.
I don't know any better time than right now when we're kind of locked away and things are a bit upside down to play. Find ways to play, to explore new things. You have stories to tell, or pictures to paint, or quiches to bake. I don't know, but go forth and do. Go have some fun.
Yeah, that's great. And I assume that viewers can find this book most anywhere books are found.
Yes,
Or
Park Road Books has them here in
yep,
Charlotte,
yep,
and wherever books are found.
wherever
Yep.
books are found. And can we color in the book too,
You
Kathy? Or
can. It is yours. You can.
I'm allowed, I'm allowed to do that?
You may want to color your bubbles in. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I need some
practice
of
your
the, I need
practice
some
your
of these
shading
I need some of
exercise.
these
Yeah.
pencils,
There you
to do it with. Once again, my friend
go.
Cathy Pickens, thank you so much for participating in this Tune In Tuesday on Monday, because everybody knows what tomorrow is. Tomorrow is voting day, when we're going to all go vote and
Absolutely.
civic duty. So thanks for being on the show, Cathy.
Thanks for inviting me out to play. It was fun.
All right, that's great. Now I'm gonna try to hit the end button here, and if I do, I might say goodbye to you as soon as I hit it.
Okay.
But thank you, Cathy.